Sarah Palin has now completed her second major network interview. The Republican vice presidential nominee's access to the media, of course, has been very tightly guarded since she became John McCain's running mate. Now she's talking to CBS Evening News anchor Katie Couric about the current economic crisis.
If this doesn't pass, do you think there's a risk of another Great Depression?
Unfortunately, that is the road that America may find itself on. Not necessarily this, as it's been proposed, has to pass, or we're going to find ourselves in another Great Depression. But there has got to be action taken, bipartisan effort, Congress not pointing fingers at this point at one another, but finding the solution to this.
This morning, Sarah Palin attended the Clinton Global Initiative in New York City with John McCain before heading to Philadelphia to campaign there. Let's get a check on the reaction to Sarah Palin's latest interview from her home constituency in Alaska. Jason Moore is a reporter for KTUU in Anchorage. I'm assuming, Jason, that you all saw a lot more interviews with Sarah Palin before she became the vice presidential running mate to John McCain.
That's right. We saw quite a few. In fact, it was never a problem trying to get an interview with Governor Palin up here at any time. You just sort of show up at her office, and she's always happy to talk to you. So it's been interesting to watch how the campaign has really controlled her access to the media and those people who are interviewing her. I thought she did a pretty good job with Katie Couric. You know, she has a good personality for these interviews, and I'm not quite sure why the campaign's holding back on her doing more of them.
Do the people of Alaska feel like it's a disservice to their governor when she's kept on such a tight leash? I mean, we've seen calls now for them to release her to the reporters to answer unscripted questions, for there not to be such a tightly controlled environment around the governor from your state.
Well, there is a frustration. I mean, there's a frustration up here. We have a lot of questions about what's happening in state government and as it pertains to this so-called Troopergate investigation, and it's just very difficult to get answers from the governor herself. Of course, we understand she's very busy with the campaign and whatnot. I did find it interesting during the Katie Couric interview that it seemed like Katie caught her briefly, not really knowing that much about Senator McCain's background. Katie Couric kept pressing her for examples of how he dealt with financial situations like this and regulations of the financial industry. And finally, Governor Palin had to say she would get back to Katie with some firm examples. So that was sort of interesting. You know, John. Go ahead, Contessa. Well, I was going to say John McCain, he didn't perform that well up here in the presidential primary in Alaska. He took fourth place, actually. So the public of Alaska wasn't really thrilled with John McCain, mainly, I think, because of his lack of support for drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. So I could sort of understand why the governor doesn't necessarily know a lot about his legislative background.
Jason, the fact of the matter is there would have been people in Alaska who have followed her career from Wasilla to the governorship, and now, of course, as vice presidential running mate. Even those people with a history of sitting down with her, are they not getting access either?
Well, I can speak from my own perspective. I've been to her house in Wasilla. She's actually been to my house briefly in Anchorage here, and I went back to Minnesota to cover the Republican National Convention. I couldn't even get a few minutes with our governor. So it's difficult. It's a different world in this campaign. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
All right, Jason, it's good to talk to you as always. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to come on the air with us.